I have that turned up so incredibly loud.
It's like a club in your house.
But I started like going like this down below, like rocking out to it and
Turn down
everything.
for
Good evening, good evening. Say Wong, I know, gasp, the show is on time. Hello, Graveyard.
Dude, it's gonna be
Long
on
time
time
no see, Graveyard.
now.
Just kidding. So good evening, everyone. Metso here. Arc to my left. You're
Somewhere.
right. Hello, Darth Jeff. Hello, how are you? Welcome in.
Johnny Colada is in the house. Dark Wolf Saber's here. Woo-hoo.
Oh, hey, Johnny, what's up? We are your weekly interview, news, fun, whatever show on your Sunday nights.
That's right.
How was your week, sir?
Oh wow, I was at a pop-up event yesterday, Northern California Chamorro community event.
Hello,
they
Luna.
eat good.
Hello,
yeah, you were like literally right across the street from me.
I was like right across the street from where you were visiting a friend I hadn't seen in a while. So Van is never late. Pod out at night. Very, very funny. Hello, Bat Mike White, Matt Granda, Luna Artemis. Hello, welcome in. Very excited to have you all here tonight to learn about what nerdy news I might have, or our guest Lady Malice of Outer Rim Praxeum. I'm very excited to have all
flow artist Anfernee.
Yes, Anfernee. So then say Wong LMAO. If I had a nickel every time the show was late due to Van forgetting his login credentials, I would have $8.30.
It wasn't my login credentials. It was my computer was so slow, dude. I swear.
Yeah, what actually would happen?
Use this computer to map the stars, man.
Ark here would turn on his laptop about 45 minutes before the show just to try to get there on time. It had nothing to do with his login credentials, but he no longer has that problem because I fixed it. So woohoo! Anywho's, do you know what time it is?
I do, but before we get going, and of course I've got to be late here. I want to
remind everybody
we have 20% off of our entire website right now at kybercave.com. We are doing this because 20%, even though you get 20% off, another additional 20% is going towards helping one of our producers, Jon, raise money for a new wheelchair. So there is actually, on our website there too, where it has the code for you to get the 20% off. You have to use the code AbiliTV, but also there's a donate button too. So if you're not interested in buying any product, you can just donate to help out. And of course, every penny helps, or every mention helps. So if you can't help financially, it's also a great help just by sharing it and letting other people know about that.
Hello, Outer Praxeum's in the chat saying they're very excited to have Lady Malice represent them. Duran, hello.
Former Saber winners. And he also won a keychain from us too.
Yes. And speaking of Saber giveaways, we are 34 away from our next one. So share the channel, have people join. At 1,100 subscribers, we're going to be doing another Saber giveaway on this show. But this Wednesday, we have a little giveaway. What happened there? A little one. On Wednesday morning during my gaming show, I will be giving away a Steam code away for the Pain's Creek Killings. If you don't remember that game, it is created by EQ Studios, their first game. We actually have had Ferry Tomey, the game director over at EQ Studios, on our show twice as a guest. And I supported on their Kickstarter, as did Graveyard, who's a host on our show. And I have a Steam key giveaway for the Pain's Creek Killings to give. So on Wednesday, if you tune in, I'm going to be doing a Steam key giveaway for that game. So tune in Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for Gaming with Metso, and Aubrey will be there as well.
Excellent. And I want to thank everybody, too, who has been our strong supporter. Dark Wolf Savers, Johnny, he was one of the first, I want to say, 10 people that we interviewed on this show when we started it 2.5 years ago. We are 34 watch hours right now away from being able to be verified as a real little YouTube channel. So after that, we can turn in our credentials and start figuring out what we need to do. But we've hit the subscriber count. The last thing we needed to do was hit the watch hour, and we're at 34 hours. We're probably going to hit that in the next day or two. So I want to thank everybody who's been with us on this adventure this whole time. And don't think that, just because we're verified that means that we finally made it. No, that's just the beginning. That means we finally made it to the starting line. From there, everything builds and explodes from there. And we have lots of great stuff, lots of great content. Aiken Sabers, what is up in the house?
Thank you. Hello, Josh. Thank you for coming in. And Graveyard says that he thinks that maybe on Retro Alcove we'll give one away from the 7th guest upload, depending on commenting, and we'll figure how exactly how that will go, because we have 2 copies for Payne's Creek, because Graveyard also backed them.
I love it. You know what? Maybe we should do that. Maybe once we hit our 34 and we were able to verify, maybe every one of our shows should do some kind of a little giveaway of some sort.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That would be a lot of fun.
Now, before we proceed.
Okay.
Nerdy news. All right, everybody. Our nerdy news tonight is actually going to be lighthearted and fun. So the first one on the docket is I went and saw Dungeons and Dragons last night.
Really?
Yes, I did. And I wanted to see it, but part of me was not expecting necessarily to do great. I mean, as we know, not a lot of movies made based off of games, whether it be a board game or a video game, don't always do great. Like Resident Evil was really good. And they actually made so many Resident Evils. But I wouldn't necessarily say they were out of the, shoot out of the cannon, amazing kind of a thing. But this one was a lot more fun than I expected it to be.
Was it worth your money to go to the theater, or would you rather have waited for it to come on streaming service?
I think it was worth the money in the theater, because they had some big, beautiful worlds that they created with visual effects that it's really nice to see on the big screen.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it. It kind of every person they came across had a backstory kind of a thing that would come up, and they would have a montage telling a story. And it made me think when people play Dungeons and Dragons and they have a story. Yeah, they had to tell us. It's basically you play a game, but you're also telling a story at the same time. I have never played it for myself. This is just from experience of friends playing it that have told me about it and seen footage of it being played.
Right.
But I thought it was pretty cool. I say, Long, if it weren't for Graven Forest, I probably would have had $9.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. For those who don't know, Sang Wong likes to give Van a hard time. I almost we don't swear on the Sunday night show. So that is the news in Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's worth to see it in the theater. I thought it was a lot more fun than I expected. Chris Pine was great. Hugh Grant's hilarious. Michelle Rodriguez, I am so happy to see her in something. I haven't watched Fantastic Four and any of the Fantastic, not four, gosh.
Fast and Furious.
Thank you, Fast and the Furious in a long while. And then Justice Smith was pretty good. He was a lot of fun. And then I can't read what her name is from here, but last name Lilith. She's the second one to the right. She was adorable and great. I liked her a lot. All right, next on the news. Yellow Travel Biscuits, learn to make the Empire Straight. So down below in the description, you'll find a link that actually takes you to the recipe for these biscuits. So make your own Empire Yellow Travel Biscuits. They do look tasty. So it was if you guys don't know,
right?
What was that?
Did Frey make some?
I have no idea. But for those who don't know, on a recent Mandalorian episode, a couple weeks ago, one of the characters was they had these. And they look. I knew when I looked at the recipe before I even looked at the recipe, they were made with some lemon zest. Graveyard said Frey made some. She promised him some, and he has not gotten them.
Frey,
Frey, go! I love you, Frey. Anyway, so you can learn to make your own yellow travel biscuits by using the link in the description below for their recipe. And
I want to know how to make the little blue macaroons that Grogu was floating around in that classroom. That one.
I will look for a recipe for you, Dan.
Yeah, so see, Bat Mike is right. The dark side does have cookies.
Dark side cookie, and they're so light in color. And I knew before I looked at the recipe, I could tell because they're kind of slightly yellow color, as they have lemon zest in them. So I assume that maybe they'll kind of taste like a lemon bar, kind of, but drier because they're like a biscuit.
Right.
All right, so that's it for the nerdy news. Now, next we have on our show, as you know, is the flow of the show. So every week we have our producer, James Kaiser, sends a flow to us to promote and feature during the show, whether it be gloving, fire dancing, saber spinning, all of that is included. Anything visually mesmerizing is a flow art.
And I
So
want to say on this one, Anfernee was somebody that I've tried to reach out to before to get him on an interview, and he wasn't interested in an interview. But Anfernee is somebody that has been in the flow art scene for a while. I absolutely love this guy. And he has been on this show in the flow section before, but we haven't seen him in a long time, so I'm happy to have him back.
yeah, I don't remember him, and I've been on the show.
That's how long it's been since we've had him.
In 26 days will be my 1 year anniversary.
Wow.
I know. So I think I might gonna have to make sure I come on after dark because it's a Friday.
Wow.
Hello, David. How are you? I didn't get to say hello to you yet, so I want to make sure I said hello. All right. So without further ado, here is our flow of the show, Anfernee Suell, brought to you by James Kaiser.
Woo-hoo.
Well, that's what happens when your fingers work faster than your brain works faster than your fingers. It's Anfernee Suell.
Suell. I love that.
Well, not Duell.
I love that yellow golden blade he had too.
I know. I was like watching the first time. I was like, oh, that is so pretty. Like the brightness of the yellow. It was just like it just makes me think of sunlight. So I think
It's
of warmth.
mesmerizing.
Yes. So thank you, James Kaiser, for bringing us the flow of the show for this week. Now, sir, do you want to take it away?
Yes, I do. All right. This next guest that we have coming on, we have had Outer Rim Praxeum on before. We had a different, I can't remember who we had on. We had a different person on. We were talking about different things. At that time, we were talking about rules and regulations and things like that within the greater Saber community. I'm excited about our guest tonight because I think she is going to be letting me know about some different aspects of Outer Rim Praxeum that I am not familiar with. So with no further ado, please give it up for Miss Lady Malice. Woohoo! Well, hello there.
Hello.
How are you doing tonight?
Oh, pretty good. Just came out of a 7-hour board meeting and then a 2-hour practice. So I'm all hopped up on lightsaber stuff. Right
A 7-hour board meeting for the group Outer Rim Praxeum?
Yeah, that was only the second half. We had another 7 hours the day before. We are super busy right now.
Wow. Okay. Do you have a business license or like a 401k, or is it just a large group? I'm wondering what kind of meetings you guys have that are lasting 7 hours.
We're just in like a really exciting point where we built up enough of a reputation in the community and built up a lot of skill in our members that we just have all these ideas for like fun projects. And May 4th is coming up, so we're trying to ramp up all of our recruiting events and our community events, and we do some charitable fundraising. We have a sports kind of blade match season that goes all year long that's about to kick off in 3 weeks. So it's just a really busy time for us.
Wow. How big is your organization? And is it just in one spot, or is it like a lot of the fighting leagues like Lightspeed or things where they're kind of in different cities all around?
Oh, it'd be great to be that big someday. But right now, we're one group. We're kind of in maybe like a hour-long stretch of north central West Virginia. There's 13 of us right now that meet regularly. We keep it pretty small just because of the nature of what we do requires a lot of really intense training and working really closely together.
Right, right, right.
It's
And
almost more of like a small theater troupe kind of a thing.
right. And really quickly, for those that don't know, why don't you tell the audience or people in the audience a little bit about what it is you do at Outer Rim?
Yeah, definitely. We consider ourselves a performance martial art. That's because we are right in between in the Saber community. You have all of your people like Ludo Sport and your Saber Legion, who
Right.
are it's a sport that uses a lightsaber, and then on the other hand you have your Saber Guild and your more choreographed story based groups. So we're right in the middle, and we bring those two things together. So everything we do is unchoreographed. But as you can see from the videos, we don't wear all the padding because we have a lot of really intense control training that we do. Something that also makes us a little bit different than other groups is we like to call ourselves Lightsaber WWE. So we're creating these big, larger than life characters. We come out there with a theme song. I come out with like smoke coming out of my hood and my lightsaber on. I'm yelling things at my opponent. We're going back and forth. I've pretended to hit people with like a steel chair before in shows. So it
Oh
brings that
wow.
competition and the theater and that audience interaction and that improv all together.
Wow. So okay, so man, I love that idea of a Saber WWE group. So you because I want to say, and I apologize, I can't remember offhand who it was that I spoke to, but I thought we were talking about a lot of the fighting and the rules. So you guys are a mix. Do you have certain people in your group that are more into choreography and some that are like really into the fighting, or does everybody do a little bit of everything?
I would say everybody does a little bit of everything. We actually have very little actual choreography. There
Hmm.
might be something like where I'll punch somebody, so we'll practice that in advance, or like me hitting somebody with a chair that we'll practice in advance. But all of the strikes and blocks are completely unchoreographed. We
Right,
definitely have people who come in because they're like, "Oh, lightsabers, it's cool. I just want to hit each other." And then we
right.
have people who come in and they're more from like role play type games and they're more interested in the theater and character creation. So we have a really nice mix.
I'm very interested in hearing about your show because I mean, I understand typical choreography, right? Me and another person get out. We want to reenact the Obi Annie scene, so we're going to slow it down. We're going to practice and do these things. But how do you have a choreographed performance? Even in the WWE, I believe it's pretty much pre-scripted where they know, okay, in the middle of this, you're going to take an elbow and then you're going to go
Mhm.
down and I'm going to jump over you. But how do you do a performance without having kind of a pre-scripted? That just blows my mind. Like how,
Um,
I mean, is it just that you guys have worked together so long,
exactly.
or are there certain cues like if I do my elbow this way, you know it's going to be a lower strike or something like that?
Um, it's definitely working together. Like we have those people who mesh really well to create a show and they can kind of read each other's body language. We
Hmm.
don't have very much in the way of true signals. The way we deal with that is we have broken everything down into different styles. So we practice our interpretation of the seven forms of lightsaber combat.
Right.
And I train in certain styles. The other leaders in the group, they train in certain styles because we have a trying to not get too elaborate here, but we have a class based system similar to a video game where you're arranged Sith Jedi, high to low aggression. You have different force powers that are available to you that all are balanced, and then you are using certain styles of combat. So when someone fights me, they don't know if I'm going for a head strike, an arm strike, or a leg strike, but they know that I'm doing very fencing, direct, snappy type strikes, so they can be prepared for that. Um,
Wow.
and we do 4 to 5 hours every single week of practice. So that way, when I'm hitting somebody, I'm actually making contact, but it's no more than just like a flick on the hand because I'm
Right.
slowing that momentum down at the last second.
Wow. Now, is this a group that's been together? Is this like a group of friends that have been together for a while, or did it start with just one or two people and you keep adding people on? How does this group work, or how did it
Um,
grow?
our founder came from Kentucky. He had to move for work and personal things, so he had been training with a group down in that area called the Imperial Legion, And he came to West Virginia and wanted to start something, started recruiting at local cons. So the group has been together for 7 years now, 7.5. But there are only 2 of us who have been here since the very beginning. Everybody else has been here maybe 2 years, 4 years, more in that range. Just, I mean, you know how it is, like getting something off the ground. You have those years where you're just like barely scraping by and trying to build up your reputation.
Right. For Outer Rim Praxeum, what is your ultimate goal? You were talking about kind of like building up your organization, right? That to me denotes that there is some kind of like an end goal. In a perfect world, is this something that like you would tour like with the group of, you know, a group would tour around the country doing performance and shows, or what is it that you would like to? Are you trying to open a school? Is your goal just to get in front of more people? What is your goal for your group?
I would say long term, it would be really cool to go around and travel to different conventions performing, because we're not so much based on wanting to grow in terms of numbers. We're wanting to grow in terms of quality.
Excellent.
So none of us have come from like theater backgrounds or traditional martial arts. And every year we're just trying to get a little bit better with having higher quality mics and having higher quality lighting, because we're going for that feel of people are hyped up. People have their favorite duelists that they're following throughout the season, and watching those averages change from week to week to see who's going to make it into the big year-end tournament, and following like the storylines and who's betraying who and who's allying with who, and trying to get our fans really invested in those storylines and those characters is what we're really hoping to do.
Wow, that is awesome. Does that mean that, okay, so now I can see why you might have longer meetings. Does that mean that you're almost like getting together and like, well, okay, I'm trying to understand how this would work. Let's say you have a show coming up next month. Let's say you know you're going to be doing some kind of a performance. Do you start kind of like writing little storylines to get to that point, or is it just kind of made on the moment, and then that is the story that you continue from there? Or how do you build your stories if it's also not pre-written?
Mm-hmm. I would say it's a mix. We usually try to have at least a few core elements that we know are going to happen, and then just build off of that. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I was going into a show with one of my students, and she's still developing her character. So we're trying to figure out what are the like stereotypes that you're trying to hit. What theme music do you want to fit your character?
Right.
And we figured out, because I've been here for 7 years and she's relatively new, we were going to make this a generational battle.
Right.
So she was going to be throwing the lines about like, okay, boomer, or you're old. I'm what's new and upcoming. And I'm throwing in the lines of like, oh, you kids and your TikTok. And at one point I was going to go up and knock the phone out of her hands onto the ground and try to get that crowd reaction. So planned out those like 2 or 3 moments throughout the duel. And then the rest of it was just us doing improv with those topics for the rest of the event.
Wow, that is incredible. When I was looking at your page, I was really interested in this interview to find out how things work, because when I looked at it, it did kind of remind me of like, I saw your guys' costumes, and then it had like almost like statistics or something like that. Like it made me think of kind of like Mortal Kombat, where you have different characters that have different power moves and things like that. So to hear that there's kind of a wrestling element to it, I think it just makes it so fun.
Yeah, like my character is an assassin, so I'm low aggression. I use very direct fencing type attacks. I use reverse grip, so highly defensive. I'm just coming in and saying like mean things to you. My force powers are going invisible or putting somebody in a bubble, and then we kind of play with those things with how a character might react. Versus one of our other instructors, he's a Jedi Guardian, so kind of a Obi-Wan Kenobi type feel. All of his powers are more physical, and he's coming in with, he's going from staff to he's going to dual wielding, so he's going to single, and it's all very like flashy and very martial, whereas my character is more like, I'm just gonna like be mean, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna try to make you sad.
Right. And how does the audience react to this? Do they get it? Do they get that this is like a WWE kind of thing? Or do you have to kind of let them know that in the advertising ahead of time? Or do people know what to expect from you guys? Because, like I said, when I'm trying to imagine this in my head, it's very different than, I've seen choreographed battles a million times. I've seen real, TSL and Lightspeed and Ludo fights a million times. I haven't seen a WWE style, not choreographed, but theme and story driven kind of performance. How does the audience take it?
It depends. We definitely have hit or miss depending on where we are, but people can get really into it, especially kids.
Right.
We had one year where we do have like a face and heel concept. And we had one year where I was fighting a Jedi and he was supposed to be the face, but the
Right.
audience just decided that they hated him. And every time he spoke, they would just boo him.
Right,
So,
right.
okay, well, the audience likes me. We're going to switch how this is going.
Wow.
And like we'll go out and sit with the audience. We'll have them heckling us and kids just like screaming, like, take off her head. And we had one really cool bit where somebody went down after they took a strike, and then I, back in the audience, kind of started calling out the Sith code as a storyline element to encourage him to get back up. And it was amazing because the whole audience picked up on what was happening. And by the time I reached the end of the Sith code, half of the audience was shouting out the Sith code along with me to rally the spirits to stand back up.
That's got to be a great feeling.
It is.
What is it like? Like, do you kind of like come up with ideas on the spot and then people like cheer you on? You're like, yeah. And it seems almost to me like it's almost like doing stand-up comedy, right? You don't know what's gonna be popular, what joke is gonna be funny, what move is gonna, make the crowd go ooh and get excited until you're actually in the performance doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because we'll have people who will work super hard on a bit and it just falls flat and it just happens.
Right.
The audience, the timing's a little bit off. The audience doesn't quite understand. But that's just part of it. And like one time I did the chair, everybody freaked out. Another time I brought out the chair and people were just kind of like, I don't know what's going on. Right. So you definitely have to be like ready to improvise. You have to be a little bit thick-skinned to do it, because the audience might stare at you blankly and walk away. Or you might get these people who are super into it, keep coming back year after year.
Really quickly to Red 77, David, I want to say Red Blade for life, buddy. Yeah, it seems to me almost like a version of like improv comedy. I mean, you have to be really comfortable with your partners and the people you're on stage with, and it seems like you really have to trust kind of where they're going with the story.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we do have so much behind the scenes work, because we have to make sure nobody's crossing that line and hurting feelings in real life. We have to make sure that everybody feels comfortable dueling, that they're not going to get hurt. We need to make sure everybody has the training and the support that they need to do that kind of improvisational dialogue in front of a crowd, because your stereotypical nerd, a lot of us have a little bit of social anxiety, a little bit of awkwardness, and we're taking those people and trying to get them out into a stage where they're being cheered on and people know their name.
Right. Do you have that now? Have you ever gone, like, do you go out in public and like, have you ever had anyone go, oh my God, it's Lady Malice? Like, people know who you are?
It hasn't happened too often, but there have definitely been a few times. Like, what?
Now, we are obviously, COVID was such a weird time, and we're out of it now, but how did that affect your group? I know with a lot of the different academies, some academies have shut down completely. Some places had to kind of do things online, kind of via a Zoom. How did you guys hold things together when you couldn't meet together?
We were really fortunate in that, because we don't have a building or anything, we already practice outside. So that helped, that we were able to continue practicing in some capacity once everybody had kind of figured out what was going on. Also, because we already had really strict rules about like behavior and safety and attendance, it was pretty natural for us to just slide right in like those rules about when are we masking, when do you need to quarantine, and stuff like that to keep people safe.
Right.
We try to be as democratic as possible just to keep everybody in the group involved. So there were a lot of like hard conversations, a lot of long conversations to make sure that everybody still felt comfortable. We're still getting that training. We didn't have any events at all in 2020, a few in 2021, and now we're like back up to full steam.
Right. And would sorry, I just had a skip in thought. So you guys are back up to kind of full. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Sorry. I had noticed on when I was looking at your page, a lot of people were costumed, and it seems like, you know, now that I understand there's kind of that wrestling element to it, I can see where that's important. Do you guys have like a crew seamstress, or do you guys all work on your own costumes? Do you guys create your own thing, or do you work as a group? How it seems like costumes are a big part of your group, at least the presentation of it. What is the what's the deal with that?
Most of us have made or bought costumes on our own. Some of us are it's completely purchased off of like Etsy or wherever else. Some of us have sewn everything from scratch. As we've gotten bigger, we've been able to have a little bit more support for that kind of thing and have regularly scheduled nights where people can get together and they can talk costume design. We're pretty strict about our costuming, not in the same sense as like the Rebel Legion or 501st, but in the sense that because we're all about the performance, because we want people to recognize our characters, you have to kind of lock in your look. Right. So you can't switch like between like one day you're wearing white and one day you're wearing red. Like everyone kind of creates a persona and an aesthetic that fits their character. So that way, when the audience comes in, they're always like, oh, hey, yeah, I really like that Jedi that wears blue.
Right. Right. And do you kind of create your own character yourself, or is it kind of like, oh, we've got a lot of bad guys, we need, you know, we need a light side person now, and so the next person is going to be a light side person? Or do you guys really kind of develop your own you know, your own charisma points and your own, you know, character stats?
When someone joins, we do what's called a faction test. It's basically a personality test. And we try to figure out if you're more Jedi Sith aligned, if you're more high aggression, low aggression, if you're more of like a melee fighter versus a kind of a sniper role. And that way we help people to fit into something that feels a little bit more natural. Somebody who's kind of quiet and shy isn't going to be able to do like a big, larger than life kind of a character. And then as they progress, we have a ranking system like a martial art. When you're a rank 3, we might only expect those basics. So you're kind of working on your costume, you're kind of figuring out your personality on stage. By rank 4, you're really locking in those kinds of things. And by rank 5, you should be full-fledged, like I can respond to the audience in character, comfortable in a costume. I have backstory in mind if people ask me questions and all of that kind of stuff.
Right. That's fantastic, man. I love how it seems like it's almost like going to college, and it's like, okay, here's your freshman level classes. Once you master these, then you can move on and do the more advanced things. Tony had a question up here. It says, it would be interesting to see how does her organization and lightsaber style get along with sports combat folks.
I try to do a lot of interaction online just to kind of keep an eye on like the bigger lightsaber community and kind of follow some of the tournaments and stuff that go on.
Right.
We haven't done, I can't think of any in-person interaction that we've had with anybody in more of the sports-oriented groups, but it would be really intimidating, but I'm sure it would be fun to try to compare some stuff.
And what do you see for the growth of your group and the future of your group? Like, what are you concentrating on this year as opposed to what you want the bigger, you know, outcome in 10 years to be?
I would say this year we're trying to develop a solid base of trainers for a really long time, there have just been two of us who've been trying to keep track of everything. So right now we're at the point where people have been around long enough that we can start delegating those responsibilities to other people. And I think that's going to free us up a lot to just keep increasing the quality of our shows. So that way,
Right.
instead of having like 3 hours to prep for an event, well, now we might have 5 hours to prep for an event and that kind of thing.
Right. I wanted to ask you about sabers really quick, but David, 77 David says fundraisers. I don't know if that he's asking if you have fundraisers coming up or if you do fundraisers. And I think
Um,
this David is probably somebody in your group, I'm guessing.
I'm not sure about the name. It could be
Oh,
one
okay.
of our members.
I might be wrong.
But yeah, we do charitable fundraising for the West Virginia Children's Hospital. So that's kind of our way of trying to keep the Disney mouse happy. Is we don't have any sort of legal status. We don't collect any money for ourselves. Everything's volunteer based, and we try to give back to the community as much as possible.
Right. So we are a Saber store over here primarily before a YouTube channel. I wanted to ask you guys for what you do. What kind of sabers do you guys use? Do you use stunt sabers? Do you use full sound sabers, or do you use NeoPixel?
We use blanking on now. We started off with the Ultra Edge blade from Ultra Sabers, and then I think most people call it thin walled in most companies.
Right.
Not like the heavy grade that like Saber Legion use. Some of our members use the sound sabers, but because we do a lot of training every week, the batteries all just get drained really fast. So I just like a really basic, like one color stunt saber is my preferred setup. Just so that way you're not up in front of the audience and all of a sudden you're like cycling through a different color and you don't know what button you pressed. And
Right. So you'll use a mix of stunt or sound, or like, does anybody use NeoPixels? I don't imagine they do for.
We have a few people who have them for show, but we haven't tried dueling with them just because I know that there's ones that are fine for combat, but I don't know about it.
That's the debate we have all the time. Technically, you can duel with them. I just don't know a lot of people that want to take the risk of, breaking their $150 blade for a presentation.
And it's also my understanding that the NeoPixel is a little bit heavier than your thin-walled.
Right, because your regular RGB where the light is inside the hilt, it's going to have a hollow tube, as opposed to with the NeoPixel that's got all the lights and everything is inside the tube. So your blade is actually a lot heavier, so you're going to swing slower technically than you would with the RGB saber.
Yeah, and we're pretty careful about weights of sabers just because we don't do the padding. So we want it to be, if somebody makes a mistake, you get a welt, not if somebody makes a mistake, a bone is broken.
Right. How much are you guys influenced by the Disney media, like the movies that are coming out, the streaming services? Are you guys influenced by like some of the storylines, or do you try to keep yourselves completely free and clear? I noticed you made that comment about the mouse earlier, and we're very much the same way. Like I do everything I can to stay off of Disney's radar. But do you how do you go about that?
I don't think our saber combat changes too much just because it's something that's been passed on from the people who trained us, from the other lightsaber group that he came from. So we try to be very strict about the forms itself, the katas that make up the forms, and not deviate there. I would say it's influenced our storytelling and like our booth setup. Like I have a little Grogu. He has a scar that matches mine.
Right.
So that's like a big attention getter at the booth whenever we're doing something around kids. So we try to at least stay in touch in that way. We have a dark saber prop that's at the booth because that's a really big eye-catching thing.
Right. When you go to cons and you have booths, what is it that you are doing at the booth? Is it that you're just letting people know that you exist as an organization so that you can do performances with them? Are you trying to bring more people in? Is it just about awareness, or what is your intention with the booths?
I would say it's a mix. We usually try to do a little bit of recruiting if we're somewhere that's close by. We always have our fundraising. So we'll have little like stickers and things like that to incentivize people to donate. We'll sometimes autograph pictures if people donate to our charity and that kind of thing. And we try to have everything set up to feel a little bit in universe. So
Right.
people can handle like, oh, here's a dark saber and here's a little blurb about how that relates to one of our characters, or here's a little Kaminoan dart that's used by assassins like Lady Malice, and kind of that like hands-on, like people can pick up little Kyber crystals to take home that has a description of what the different colors kind of means. So just building that like community awareness of our characters, trying to get them involved in the fundraising, trying to encourage them to follow our season throughout the rest of the year by watching us on Facebook and YouTube.
Do you guys do like on your Facebook and your YouTubes, do you do like little stories on there, like a weekly kind of like almost like the wrestling where you're keeping your fans up to date with who's mad at who and who's got beef and all that stuff?
I'd say that's more of a goal right now than something that we do. We're always trying to find that line between what is getting too LARPy and is going to turn off the more sports oriented fans
Right.
versus what's just getting too dry and we might lose the interest from some of the people who are invested in the characters. So that's something we're hoping to really improve this year with more promos, more like little character interviews before the matches and that kind of thing.
Right. We got a question here from Darth Jeff. Darth Jeff asks, "What is your favorite duel?" Not.
If we're talking Star Wars movies, anything with Darth Maul, favorite, especially him and Savage versus Obi-Wan and Ventress, favorite fight ever. If we're talking duels that I have participated in, oh, that's a hard one. I gotta say anything we do at Kazakon, which is a local event, just because the audience there loves us. And that's where we've had the people who have been like screaming bloodthirsty things, booing people off the stage and that kind of
Right. Right. Graveyard asks, how long does a typical duel last? So like your presentation when you're in front of an audience, is it a 10-minute show? Is it a 5-minute show?
Our shows themselves usually range from about half an hour to 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
We have a couple of different match styles. So we have our martial, which is just like a first person to get the strike gets the point, best of 5. We have beat the clock, which is we put a 3-minute timer on, and it's just how many strikes can you get in that 3-minute period. And then we'll go 2 rounds with that. We have what's called binary, where there's a couple of different things that you have to hit to either get the point or you don't, if you are correctly performing your forms, if you're correctly performing your audience improv cues. So there's a couple of different styles that we practice. So I would say an individual match can range anywhere from 2 minutes to probably like over 10 minutes for some of the longer ones. I was in a tournament with a couple of other groups who were very similar to us last year.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say some of those fights maybe got to like 12 minutes long.
Wow.
And you're taking like maybe a 30-second break in between rounds, but
right.
It was definitely a test of endurance. And I had just gotten over COVID, and I did the whole thing with a mask on.
Wow. Your death says, have you ever been injured in a duel?
I've gotten little like bumps and bruises. I had a black eye once, was just because I walked right behind somebody who was flourishing completely on me. We've been really lucky in that we've never had anything worse than like a bump or a scrape when it was something that involved just our members. We've had a couple of little things where we were branching out and trying to do stuff with the public, but that's actually brings up a really good point that the downside of what we do with trying to be unchoreographed without having all the padding is we don't have the same freedom to interact with the public and to do cross events with other groups because we rely on our strict control training. Right. So it wouldn't be safe for us to go in and fight somebody else if they haven't had all of those years of the control training.
Right. Is your system, would you say, So, for example, when I go to we've had Kang Snow on here from Lightspeed. When you go to the Lightspeed website, there's list of rules there. They tell you different bases that they have around the country. With what you guys do, would you say what you're doing is replicatable, or is it something that you really kind of need to be there? Like you really have to be part of the group to understand how the dynamics work? Or is this something where you could be like, hey, we're going to show you the basic system and put it online, and you can start your own New York base or Florida base or what have you?
Well, first of all, Kang's website is goals because that website is just gorgeous and set up really
Right.
well. I would say in terms of trying to branch out, I think people could do the same thing that we do as long as they had their own combat systems. We are pretty strict about our forms and our katas, so those are probably things that we couldn't teach beyond the basics, if just in terms of like a video online type thing. We have a couple of little tutorials on our website, but it's more or on YouTube, but that's just more to kind of like keep people interested. If somebody can't make it to practice, at least they're not completely disappointed. Um, I don't know that doing something like Kang does with having like actual curriculum and ranking would fit very well for our system because we do
Mhm.
rely so much on that battle chemistry and that improv and trusting your partner to do what we do.
Right, right. Yeah, that's why I wasn't really sure if it would work. Like if I had a group and you had a group, even if we were under the same system, it doesn't seem like we could just kind of come together and
Mhm.
put together a performance because, I don't know. It just seems like you really have to work with people on an individual basis to understand, how they're doing it since it's
Yeah.
not pre-written.
Yeah. Like it's almost like having the force when you're fighting somebody you're really comfortable with because you know their body language and you know their strike patterns and all of that kind of thing.
Right, right. Do you guys plan on doing like any merchandising or anything like that? Like trying to grow your organization to buy more equipment or to be able to do things like touring. You were saying that you don't, collect dues or anything like that. You're not you're not accepting money that way, but how do you pay for all of these things that you go do? Is it just
Um,
people are paying for it out of their pocket because they
yeah,
love?
it's
Mhm.
all out of pocket. People who are in leadership roles end up contributing a little bit more. We're very much on the greater the power, the greater responsibility. So if people want to have more control over the sort of storylines that we tell, the cons that we choose to go to, then we would expect that they're doing a little bit more, whether it's financially purchasing equipment that we need or whether it's just putting in the hours to help with costuming or help with social media or whatever else.
Mhm. Where do you want to see you're what you said you're one of the two oldest members that are in the group now, right?
Hmm.
What would you say has been the thing that's made you most proud since you've been in this group? And what has been your biggest challenge since you've been in the group?
Um, I would say, in terms of something that makes me the most proud, is whenever we do events for children, and especially when there are little girls who come up to me after and who like give me a hug and they're really excited to see me and they tell me that they were cheering me on. Because with like love or hate the Disney movies, they introduced a strong female character that brought a lot of little girls into the Star Wars fandom. So
Right.
getting to be like a small part of those interactions is really exciting and really meaningful. I would say in terms of challenge, it's just the hours that goes into it. Like I absolutely love the group. I love everything that we do, but having that commitment, and you know this too with what you guys do, having that commitment to get the Instagram post up, get the YouTube video edited, get the Facebook story up even when you're busy with life stuff is
Right.
definitely that ongoing challenge.
And we're getting ready to close up here. Did you have anything that you wanted to leave people with? Any thoughts? Maybe your biggest lesson that you've learned over these years, or maybe you want to tell people what your goal is coming up here in the future.
Oh, I should have prepared something.
Oh, and you got a question here that says, "What's your favorite memory from your previous duels?"
My husband actually proposed to me during the lightsaber duel, so that was.
Oh wow! I guess that's pretty memorable.
Yeah, I met him through the lightsaber group, and I liked him because
I had that girl reaction. I was like, below.
I was only into him because he used a lightsaber staff like Darth.
I hear that from all the women.
So that was definitely really cool. And we had a first lightsaber duel, not a first dance.
Oh,
which is on our YouTube channel. So you can go watch it.
You got a question here. What is your touring area right now? So, and how far do you guys go? Like in a radius from where you're at?
Mostly West Virginia. We've gone a little bit into Ohio and Pennsylvania. We don't travel too much just because, as we talked about, the expense. So we try to keep things pretty affordable for our members. We also try to be really respectful of other lightsaber groups and areas. So if we know that, like Maryland, they have a lightsaber group, we're not just going to go and start booking events in their area unless we know for sure that the lightsaber groups there aren't interested in doing cons. So we kind of try to stay in our little part of North Central West Virginia for the most part.
Okay. And if I know my incredible director, I'm sure all the information for Outer Rim Praxia is in the descriptions down below. If anybody would like more information, and what is, I'm guessing the YouTube, Mezzo's the YouTube stuff going to be there as well? I want to go check out some of these court because I'm having a difficult time like picturing it in my head. So I want to see what this looks like now.
Look up Frenemies is a really good recent example. So that's actually my real life husband and I dueling. So since we worked together for 7 years, we probably have the best battle chemistry.
Frenemies. All right. Well, I'm going to check that one out. Mez says it'll be there right after the show. Currently on YouTube, it is there, but it will be in our description where to find out more information about Lady Malice and Outer Rim Praxeum. I want to thank you so much for being on with us tonight. This has been really interesting for me. I've never heard of kind of like a WWE style group, and I'm excited to go watch it now and see how that all plays out. Thank you so much for being on with us, especially since I know you're on the East Coast and you had to stay up later for us.
Oh, I'm up this late anyway. And thank you so much for having me. I'm a really big fan. There's not that many Asian Americans in West Virginia, so I obsessively follow everybody on the West Coast because there's so many Asian Americans.
I am Vietnamese.
Filipino.
Yay! Okay, so Lady Malice, until next time, I'm sure we're going to have you on again. I would love to catch up with you in a while and see how your organization is growing, see what you guys are up to, and learn more about the shows that you guys are doing.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have a beautiful evening.
You too.
Yeah, she's got that backhand style. That's crazy.
Yes, that was really cool. So that was a really interesting interview. Really enjoyed it. I will have those links in the description afterward. I didn't have them before, and you cannot change the description on your. If we're using StreamYard to streaming, you can't change the description until the stream's over. That's all. So thank you so much for Lady Malice and Outer Rim Praxeum for letting us steal her away an evening to have her on our show. So after this, we have Kevin Comic Con Adventures. Kevin Hogan is our producer.
Yes.
Who goes to conventions every week. It would blow your mind how many conventions that California actually has every week, and he goes to one or two.
multiple conventions every
Yeah.
week. He doesn't
And
just go to one.
Yeah, he goes to like at least 2 a week, and he always gives us a report, lets us know how they are and where they're going, and what other ones are coming up as well. So, without further ado, please enjoy Kevin's Comic-Con adventures.
Hello, this is Kevin Hogan from Northern California with another episode of California Comic-Con Adventures. On the weekend of March 25th through the 26th of 2023, our friends over at Ohana Comic-Con had a fun weekend traveling up and down the state of California there. On March 25th, they visited King City, and on March the 26th, they visited Salinas. Got a chance to see some local cosplay friends there at their afternoon cosplay competitions there. Ohana Comic-Con, as you know, visits a different city every weekend there. Sometimes, like on this weekend, they get to visit 2 different cities there. It's a great chance to hang out with some local friends there, see the cool costumes they make there. Usually they have their cosplay contests around 2:30 in the afternoon or so there. Get to see some local artists there showing off their cool drawings and art there, and other cool souvenirs they have for sale there. It's usually a local events there with free parking nearby, like at the Veterans Halls or Elks Lodge and such, so it's a great thing whenever they come near you there. Also that same weekend, on March 24th through 26th, was the WonderCon event down in Anaheim of Southern California. We got to see hundreds of vendors there fill the Anaheim Convention Center, and many cosplayers there showing off their really awesome cosplays, so it was a great time getting to see all that awesome stuff going on down there. And for those of you looking forward to future events, definitely want to check out BabsCon 2023. That's the My Little Pony Con that's going to be in Burlingame of the South Bay area there on April 7th to the 9th, 2023. And also up in Northern California there at the Roseville area there near Sacramento on April 7th and 9th is going to be SAC Anime at the Roseville Event Center there. Definitely want to check that out there. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the pics, and we'll see you out there at the next Comic-Con.
Hi, Danny.
What's up, Danny? I was gonna make a comment too. Dude, I totally forgot to tell you the exciting news.
What is the exciting news, Van?
We got an invitation. I don't know where it came from or how they found out about us, but we got an invitation from the Academy of Sciences in San Francisco to come do May 4th, to set up a vendor booth for May 4th. For like,
that's really cool.
They do this thing on Thursday nights where it's like the Exploratorium, but then it's opened up for adults where like they have drinks and stuff like that. So
sounds fun to me.
Dude, we're gonna be. You should come out with us. You should come vent with us. Steven and I will be out there that night. It's a Thursday night. May 4th is this year. Okay. So we were invited to 2 different. Bright Spot is doing an event at Heretic Brewing Company, and so I might send a second team out there to set up a booth, and then Steven and I are going out to the Academy of Science. I'm so stoked about that. They were like a huge
awesome sauce.
Yeah, for people that don't live in California, it's a huge museum in San Francisco, been around forever, and you know, like I said, I don't know anybody that works there, so I don't know how they found out about us and invited us, but I'm excited.
Brewing, you say?
Brewing, you say?
It's like, what did you ring? Yeah. Was I called?
You rang. Hey,
I can see. Please don't forget. I can see your face, hello, Graveyard.
Please do not forget to like, subscribe, like this, so we can get higher in the algorithm and more people can find out. Subscribe and share this out so that hopefully you can win a Saber and we can get closer to that next drawing.
We are 32 subscribers away from getting a Saber.
Woohoo! 32 more people. We will be giving away another combat saber.
Yeah.
I also want to let you know about our Patreon too. For as little as $1 a month, you can help this channel grow. We have lots of producers, lots of different shows. We're broadcasting 7 days a week, original content now. So if you would like to help out for as little as $1, or if you join our family or friend level, you can be in the entry for things like custom lightsabers, hoodies, clothing, chopsticks, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yes, and then Graveyard here is a nerd out with us on the Discord too. If you check in the description below, you'll see our link tree that actually gives you the link to the Patreon, the Discord, the store, our Facebook, our Instagram, all the jazz. All the awesome sauce.
Say Wong says Danny Rivera is trying to win a Saber.
No
Saber tonight.
32 Wade, that's nothing. Danny, if you want a Saber, you just share the channel and have your friends join and subscribe. And when that night comes, you just pay attention and you watch for that Sunday.
That's
we'll be doing it. All right.
Not every other show.
So, yes. And so this Wednesday, guys, don't forget to check out the rest of our shows, right? We have Monday night uploads of Retro Alcove. We have our beatdown that does come out on Tuesdays. Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. is Gaming with Moa.
Wednesday, we have two shows.
Yes. And then Wednesday night at 5 p.m. of Hearts of Kyber with Van and Jon AKA AbiliTV. He's currently on a little bit of a hiatus.
So we have the awesome Aubrey in. Yeah,
Aubrey's been kind of guest hosting that evening. Thursday nights at 8:15 p.m. Pacific, we have our gaming stream with either Force or Graveyard. They and friends, like Force, Graveyard, and friends. Like I kind of call it that in my head.
Right, and that's right after they come off of Distance Nerding, so they do another show, finish that show, and then directly come on.
Jeff. And then on Friday nights we have our 8 p.m. Pacific After Dark show. We have a heavy and light topic, and we also suggest 18 plus for that show because adult language and some adult content topics are discussed. Saturday morning we have a newer show called Saturday Morning that's at 10 a.m. Pacific. You get your nerdy news, theories, reviews, and anything our hosts want to nerd out on you. Come join us for a Saturday morning like you would your cartoons as a child.
Right.
And of course, Saber Rattle every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific. So with this Wednesday on my gaming stream, I will be giving away a Steam code for the Paynes Creek killing. So make sure you tune in on Wednesday morning. We'll be using the hashtag Paynes Creek in the chat to enter the giveaway. So you guys have a wonderful week. I'm ready for bed.
Another show is over already. It goes by so fast.
Oh. It makes me sad. Van and I were talking every day and then KyberCon 3 happened, and it was like, I'm done with you. I'm just kidding. We realized though, like we were talking every day for stuff, and they're like, wait, we aren't talking that much anymore. Wait, oh yeah, the convention. All right, you guys have a wonderful week. Don't forget to check out our Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys. Enjoy Talk of the Town.